My name is Jake, and this is my pal Kyle, and we are here on our weekly session to talk a
Hey,
little
Jake.
bit more about business.
How are
How's it
you
going,
today?
Kyle? I'm doing fantastic, sir. How's everything with you?
You know, doing pretty well, actually. Keeping very busy. Um,
You've been saying that for a number of weeks that it's a very busy time.
it is. It is. And I think, well, for two reasons. One is I think just from a seasonal perspective, spring is very busy for me typically. But I think also in this year in particular, it's even more busy because I'm seeing a lot of folks that are really thinking about business ownership as an alternative to having a job or buying land or being invested in equities, which is why I set the topic for today as kind of a comparison for that because I'm hearing a lot of information, a lot of feedback from people in the market about that. Um, yeah, so that's what's been going on for me. And what's
Yeah.
new in your world this week?
Businesses and what to invest in. So we are an early stage fintech company in the equipment finance space, and I've been going. We kind of we did a lot last year in just coming together and building the business, and I thought we were going to kind of hit the ground running this year, but getting our development and all the little toys that we built to all talk to each other has been more difficult and painful than what I was expecting. So I've been going through a little slide, but we are getting things connected, and we're in an interesting place to launch some more capable products within the next few weeks. So it's been a weird time, but I'm extremely excited about that and trying to get the product out there. And I like your topic for the day, talking about businesses and how to invest money or where to invest. But I wanted to also ask, it's a very busy time for you. The economy seems to be high. It's a good time for people as part of the Great Resignation to go out and start their own business, whether that's something
That's
they
right.
do online or something they do with you as a franchise. But there does seem to be more and more talk out there about a potential recession coming in. How does it how does it look for recessions and starting a business in a downtime?
You know, I've I've worked through several, I think, down cycles. Actually, I got started in this business in a down cycle. I started my first business in a down cycle. Um, I think that there's no good or bad time to start a business. Is the short answer. Those types of decisions are largely internal, and they're driven by your own fear. So I mean, look at it this way, right? If you got a recession looming or you're in the middle of one, yeah, it might have a problem gaining customers. You may not have a problem gaining employees. And that's what I found when I started my first business. Um, and things are kind of the opposite when times are hot. You may have more trouble gaining employees, but an easy time finding customers. Either way, you're going to find yourself on one end of the wave or the other. And resilient businesses are going to work well in good times and bad. I think a lot of people can do well when times are good, but it's when times are bad that the businesses really show their stripes as an investment.
They
And
say that it's good to start in a business in a downturn, and that's something that I believe in. And actually, coronavirus through that period was kind of a mixed bag for people, but a lot of people saw it as a tough time to do business. So I saw it as a good time to get out there and get established before things increase. But there is this greater talk of a recession coming, and there's two differences, right? There's starting a business in the downturn, but how do the franchises usually fare when things get a little tougher? The ones that you've set up.
really well.
Yeah.
In franchising, they tend to be recession resistant businesses anyway. So they're, the types of services that people buy generally, regardless of economic circumstance. And so they tend to do pretty well.
Nice.
I'm not, we're not into fad businesses at all. We're into stuff that people need every day. And sometimes that's not as sexy, but it is sexy all the way to the bank for the owner. So, there's that.
That's
Um,
a good answer.
and, and I know that there's talk about recession, but to me, it's all talk. Unless you've got a crystal ball that's any clearer than mine is, I can't really see into the future, nor do I have any control over it, except for the things that we all do day to day. And, that's a decision you just have to make for yourself. What are you going to do? And what I'm seeing is that The folks that I've been working with lately, they're setting up businesses as an alternative to land, either because, the ROI on land is not what it used to be because the prices are so high, or they're setting it up as an alternative to a job, or that they're trying to do a diversification strategy because their equities haven't been doing so well. They're profit taking and moving it into something else. Um,
So
so that's
people
kind of what
people
I'm
with a
seeing.
little people with a little extra money set aside, they could, and I see this posted on Reddit a lot actually, people asking for advice on personal finance. Either they've come into a windfall or they made some money and they go out to Reddit and kind of ask, what should I be investing in? What should I do with this? And a lot of people will kind of jump to real estate, I think, as an investment. It's more accessible or understandable to some people because everyone needs a place to live, right? But
It's
they could
simple.
be investing in stocks. Some people have invested in crypto, which I think a lot of people lost money recently, and
Yeah.
they could invest in a business then.
Yeah. Yeah, you could. Have you ever engaged with folks who are asking those types of questions? In
About
conversation,
starting a business on Reddit or in general in
or
life?
just what to do with the windfall? I mean, do you ever pitch in on that conversation?
I like to read those conversations, and people are very divided about advice. Someone will give a suggestion and someone will jump all over it and say, "That's a terrible idea. Don't do that."
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Particularly if someone's like, "Hey, you've got money invested in crypto," people are like, "Don't invest in crypto. Don't do it."
yeah,
But
yeah,
there's varying advice about real estate. I think real
sure.
estate, depending on how you do it, could be a good investment. I think it more depends on the personality. I think people don't realize how much work it is to have a property and to keep it up and running for tenants.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing that I hate to see the most is somebody who has some expectation of wealth without work. That's one of the great tragedies of our society is, expecting that to happen. Um
Passive income.
Yeah, I hear a lot of folks who wanna do passive income, and I'm quick to, correct that, to something more accurate, which is what I call semi-absentee business ownership,
Mhm.
which is, businesses are a lot like the ocean. They're nice to look at, but you don't wanna turn your back on them. And any business is gonna take 10, several hours a week to run, even if it's just part-time. It's not something you just forget about. It's like ghost driving a car, you gotta be at the wheel a little bit. You're right.
I think that's well said. I like what you have to say there about the turning your back on the ocean.
Yeah, so the passive income thing, it's really passive if only you're just a silent investor. You can buy stocks, that's a passive investment, if that's really what you want. But passive also means that you don't have any control over, what that investment does, other than when you buy and when you sell. Um, so, if you're a stock owner, it's you're just a cork in the wave, right? But if you're a business owner, your day-to-day activities have a direct impact on your investment, so you can control it. And that's, I think, the big difference.
Even if you find someone else to run a business, you've got to pay a lot of attention and you've got to be very good with numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, or you have to pay somebody who is. Um, and so, and I think about some of the things that you're doing, for example, and you're in the raising money, you're really presenting, I imagine, your business as an investment alternative to a whole bunch of others for people that have money that, probably want these semi-passive, investment that they can,
You know,
hitch
they
their wagon
they
to.
say there's a in our space, in fintech and startups, they say there's a ton of money out there. I believe there is a ton of money out there. I think people are tightening their belts just because of this um, kind of some signs that potentially a recession could be coming. But we're trying to raise several $100,000, and it almost seems to be harder than raising a couple million. I've seen one or two people in the past few months that went out that started in November, started in January, and raised $1 million for their business. And
Well,
it blows my mind. I almost think that we may be making a mistake in asking for a couple 100,000. But then you have
that's
to be able to justify that if people invest $1 million into your business, that you are going to get them. Your business is substantial enough to match that, and your business is going to get them a return up on that level.
yeah, yeah. and you're in the $100,000 range, several $100,000. Some people consider that angel, like seed angel territory. Is
We're
that
in the seed angel territory, and it is not easy. But when I see the people that raise money, I can see why. They have a very tight package, and they're very good with their numbers, and they're very good with their projections. And when you have all that stuff dialed in, and you're a sharp person, that is how people go out and raise the money.
yeah. Well, projections are simply a story, right? Um, I guess you have to have the team to back it up and the experience, uh, and a
Well, the story
compelling.
has to be tight, though. It has to, make sense. And I think too many, and I'm not as great with like projections, right, in Excel spreadsheets, but I've seen my share of decks, right, where people are just think within 2-3 years they're going to be making millions of dollars, and 50% of that's going to be profit, and that's just not how it goes for a lot of businesses. I'm sure it's tracks similarly in franchise. How much can someone, eh, people also confuse top line and bottom line. If you have a franchise with 10 employees and a $1 million top line, you could be losing money, right?
You could be losing money. It depends on how you're running the business, but in franchising, we look at it in terms of a franchise is designed to get you to a certain amount of top line and actually a growth and the middle line, the gross margin. So it's designed to drive a certain amount of top line and have a certain amount of direct costs controlled. And the fixed costs underneath that are largely under the individual owner's control. Um, but I think it's reasonable to expect that, for most service businesses in the franchise model, the margins are going to be somewhere between, 10 and 30%. And I know that's a wide range, but it's a realistic range. So if you're running a business well with 10 employees and you're making $1 million on the top line and you're doing average in that industry, you can look at an industry average and say, hey, 20% to the bottom line, that's 200 grand in owner benefit. It's nothing to
Two,
sneeze at.
200 grand, if that's actually, what you're netting, and isn't going to additional costs or marketing or other things. I mean, that's a nice
It's
living for a
after
lot
all
of
that.
people in America today.
Yeah, it's good money. And it's reasonable to expect, a business like that with a running full tilt and well run, good systems, good employees, good marketing, to drive $1 million top line and have a nice six-figure income at the end and everyone getting well paid in, all the while. Totally reasonable. And I think that's because that's so reasonable and reachable and that there's evidence for it, that it attracts people. They're like, hey, I can do that and quit my job. Why should I work for somebody when I can have my own thing and I'm building an asset besides, right? And I can pull out of the stock market. What do you need to run something like that? Maybe 100 grand. Now that's a lot of money still. Not everybody's got 100 grand laying around. But you can turn 100 grand,
But if you want to,
maybe supplement with a little bit of a loan
if you want
into,
to build if you want to build a business, there are those SBA loans out there. There are the bank loans, and to someone that
yes,
really has their stuff together, going around to a family with a real not just going around begging people for money, but actually going with a business proposition and finding
yes,
people who might want to invest $100,000 into you is something that people could do.
it is, I see it, quite frequently where somebody will have 100 grand that they want to divert into a business. They may supplement it with an SBA loan of another 100 grand or 200 grand perhaps, and you can get into a business that's actually semi-absentee. You can actually keep your day job, and have a second stream of income. If you wanted to do that, hire a manager, use that working capital to pay that person to get it to break even and build that thing up on the side. Or if you so choose, manage it yourself and run it day to day. Quit your job. You'll get to cash flow break even faster, and that money goes in your pocket that would otherwise go to a manager's salary. I don't think there's anything esoteric about it at all. It's just,
Are there a lot of people that have a day job and do as franchise as a side job?
yeah, some do. Some do.
That
That's,
seems like a handful.
uh,
Seems like a handful.
yeah, it can be a handful. You need to have some flexibility in your day job. But yeah, I work with people. I was talking with a guy yesterday that was He's got a full-time job at a tech company here in town, and he runs a fairly sizable franchise on top of it, a multi-unit. Um, and it's a thing that people do. Um, Alternate stream of income.
So what would you say to someone who is has some money set aside or is looking to invest in a business as opposed to some of the other investment opportunities out there? I mean, that was one of your thoughts on the
Well,
topic for today. What do you think about that?
neither of us are investment advisors, right? So we have to have the big asterisk, but that this is not professional advice. We're just a couple of guys on the internet talking, right?
Just a
Right.
discussion
We
about
all agree
business
with
and
that.
business
Everyone in the
market.
audience,
Yeah.
we all agree. You know who I'm talking about. Um, that said, you can do land, right? 500,000 will get you a house these days, right? Um, if you can do all cash, you can rent it out for a few $1,000s a month. If not, you're going to basically get a mortgage and you're going to be about break even plus a little bit of work. Like you said, Jake, it's more work than it seems to own a house, but it's an asset build, right? You're warehousing capital at that point. You can put it in the stock market. It's up, it's down. I'm not going to dig into that. You can put it in a business. You can either have that business on the side and hire a manager, or you could run it full time. Um, a business for the investment can generate a much greater cash flow over time. And I'm not talking like 12 months, but like, if you take a longer horizon, like a 3 to 5 year commitment, you're looking at an asset that can keep you from ever having to work for somebody else and make as much or more money than you did before. And it's something that you can sell or pass on to your kids or hire a manager to run it for you as a retirement option when you don't want to be working 40 hours a week,
It
and
seems like
later.
a much bigger motivation today than in past years is people who are just tired of working for other people and want to work for themselves. I mean,
Yeah,
a lot. There's a common theme in America. And we've touched on it before, right? Where like people want entrepreneurship for getting rich quick or getting massively wealthy, as opposed to building a business to have a nice life and a lifestyle. But I think a lot of people with a great resignation, people are just tired of the way they're being treated by bigger companies, and they feel like there's more opportunity out there.
absolutely. I think that all of us have had a chance to reflect over the pandemic and kind of make sure our heads screwed on completely straight and have decided what's important to us and what's not, and are pulling the trigger on those decisions. Um, I think that a lot of us have had to sort of look at ourselves in the mirror and decide, hey, you know what? I don't have to do this. I can do something else. Yeah.
Well, there's more opportunity at people's fingertips now than ever before with the gig economy, with working from home. A lot of controversy about some of the bigger companies out there trying to get people to come back into the office, and I don't think anyone really wants to do that.
No,
I know a lot
no.
of people have complained about all the Zoom meetings, but look at what it's empowering us to do to reach out to people on Reddit stream, to talk to people about business. We had a lot of engagement last week with people asking questions and bringing up different topics, and it's a digital world, and that's the basis of our company here at Amplify and what we're trying to do. Right, we are trying to take banking and equipment finance to a fully digital space.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about how they want to take things to a digital space, but there's very few people out there who get it completely correct and scalable, and that's what we would like to do.
I'm curious. When did you start this company?
Um, I've had this idea in my head for just so many years, but I actually started about a year and a half ago. And when I first started, I just wanted to attack the no code, low code space and see what you could do. More, it's easier to be a founder today than ever before, right? Like it used to be that you had to actually know how to code to build stuff. But there are so many tools out there that you can just drag and drop now. You can drag and drop a mobile app if you have an idea. And people that have a good idea and are sharp, you no longer have to be a programmer to be that kind of founder. And so I set out to attack a no code, low code space. And I guess I did enough there conceptually to get other people interested to come along and build greater things. But we've been building for a long time. I don't know, like, we built MVP products, we got them in front of people, they were workable.
Yeah.
I did do pre-accelerators, I did do incubators, I do have some users, but I just want to get it all into a production format now. And I think we're
When
close.
what was the tipping point for you to decide to actually move forward? I'm guessing that was probably the late 2020, beginning of 21. Was that about a year and a half ago, right? What was the
Probably
tipping?
probably late 2019, really heading into 2021. Um, I was tired of people letting me down. You know, you work for big companies, people make promises to you, managers make promises to you, their product makes promises to their customer. And as a salesperson, you know, you're the one that gets it in the ear if a product doesn't deliver to someone, if they're not happy, if it's late, you know, you're the one that hears about it. And
Yeah.
I was tired of people saying they were going to offer me stuff to offer to customers to go and sell so that, you know, I could have a good experience and I could make money and the customer could have a good experience. And I was just tired of being let down all the time. I just wanted to go build something that actually was a good product for customers, you know? And ultimately, I would like to you ever hear the stories about, like, you know, the early Viagra salesman?
No.
I mean, it was like if you could sell Viagra when it came out, I mean, it was like winning the lottery, right? Like is
Really?
there a better product that you could go sell, right? Like everybody wants it. It's a new invention. It's never existed before. It's revolutionizing the space. Of course, there's people that want that product, and you know, finding buyers was not difficult for those salespeople that like first jumped out with a product like that or others. It's incredible, and that's kind of what I want to build. I want to build a fintech product that just makes it so easy that you don't have to sell it, right? It benefits people. And so I'm hoping that it can just be something that people want. So it makes their life better. Like, of course they want to use it. And so we're trying to
Viagra for
grow
fintech?
Viagra for
Sounds
fintech.
amazing.
That is what we're trying to build.
Right on.
And hopefully attractive to all sexes though.
Absolutely. So how have you, mm, how has the experience, uh, compared to your expectations now that you're a year and a half in?
Um, you know, I never expected to succeed. I just gave myself a few months to go out and try it. So the fact that I'm still here at all amazes me. Some of it has just been amazing, just going from strength to strength and finding people that believed in our mission and building a team. That's been a pretty incredible experience. But having things drag on and take longer to do development, that's been pretty gut wrenching and comes from, you know, not having been a technical, not having been a founder before, but not having been a technical founder and lacking, you know, having built stuff previously.
Mhm.
I'm also an optimist. You know, optimistic people are often late.
Why
Optimistic
is that?
people often misjudge how long it might take to build something like a house. They're
Hmm.
optimistic, so they think, "Oh, it looks like it's gonna be ready next week," and that's just kind of never how it really works out.
Yeah. Huh. I did a TEDx talk a long time ago, and optimism was one of those things that you got to have if you're going to be a successful business owner. Courage, optimism, determination, family support. Um, and it sounds like you're pretty determined too. And
I'm a persistent hunter. That's what I
yes,
learned about myself. I'm a persistent hunter, and I don't know. I've got a new book. I was reading the Gazelle's book recently, and I just started a new book last night, and I'm actually forgetting the name, but it's about kind of like selling contrary products, selling products that are contrary to the market and expectations.
really, like what?
Um, well, you know, if you're going to build like a challenger product, that's, you know, what Amazon and all the big names that people always talk about, right?
Yeah.
See if I can actually grab the name of that.
Huh.
I'm forgetting. Rethinking competitive advantage, new rules for the digital age. You know, how to be they talk about, right, like challenger banks and challenger products, and Amazon was a challenger product. And
Yeah.
how do you change how you think to completely revolutionize people's experience, but also how to position yourself in a marketplace as something kind of completely new and different.
I remember, I don't know, first time I bought something off of eBay, that was like, it broke my brain. I fell in love immediately. That was definitely one of those innovator products.
You don't
Um,
hear about eBay as much anymore. Like it's not in the news as one of those kind of tech powerhouses. But when eBay first came out and you could just get a Beanie Baby from your closet and sell it for $100 online, like that was really, really revolutionary.
I love it. I still use it all the time. In fact, it's my go-to over Amazon if I can help it.
eBay.
Yeah,
You
for
ever
sure.
you ever sell stuff on there, or are you mostly buying?
Oh yeah, hundreds of things. Yeah, I like selling on eBay.
Very nice.
Yeah. Anyway, off topic, but that sounds like a cool book. I'm always looking for new things to read.
That's a pretty good one. I got to dive into that a bit more. I was talking to someone about data recently, and there's 20,000 small businesses in Westchester, and they had an interesting point because there's a lot of towns and city will court big companies. They all want that kind of like Johnson and Johnson to come and have a headquarters there, but a headquarters for a business like that may, I'm just going to choose a random number, say they hire 2,000 people, but actually small businesses are the bulk of the employers in the United States and in any one area. And so
Absolutely.
if they chose to focus on stimulating the small businesses, they'd actually stoke a lot more employment than they would for just going for one big name and giving them a bunch of tax advantages to build a big parking lot and have a building there. And I'm fascinated by that because we really reach out to the SME space, both the buyers and sellers of equipment, people that need equipment for their businesses to grow. And I think a lot of the franchises that you help to spawn and get people get started are, I mean, I think most of those are considered small businesses, right?
Absolutely, they are. And you know that the franchise space itself is about 9% of the entire economy. And they're all just small businesses. I mean, they have anywhere from one to, probably several hundred employees at the very largest, right? But most of them are under 50, well under 50. There's hundreds of thousands of them out there. Yeah. And, and that's just franchising. When you consider in anybody that's running a small business that isn't franchising, which is even bigger than that, it underscores the validity of your claim that small business is the thing that drives our economy, much more so than the big business.
Yeah,
Is that
I'm fascinated
Westchester
by.
County that you're talking about?
Yeah, Westchester County. I have a friend who's also a founder who has a lot of like government data that they've harvested, and they're trying to find new ways to turn it into information and resell. And so they had that just accessible at their fingertips and started drilling down into a few of the numbers. I mean, you can imagine 20,000 small businesses in a fairly small regional space. And some of the, a small business, 20,000 of them that could have anywhere from 1 to 15 or more employees per company. And so that's a lot of employees. It's a lot of working
Yeah.
people. That's a lot of wages and salaries that help to pay people rent and feed their children. And
I wonder
it's a
what the
fascinating
upper
thing.
threshold for small business is. Like, is that 100 employees, 200?
I was just wondering that because I don't know the technical definition. To me, it's a business with like kind of 1 to 15, 1 to 20. If you're getting up to 30 to 50 employees, to me personally, I start to consider that. I mean, technically, it's probably still considered an SME in a small business, but to me, that gets to be small, medium. I mean, if you have 50 employees, I consider that a fairly decent sized company. But I don't
Yep.
know the technical definition. I should probably, maybe I'll look that up for next week.
Hmm. Maybe that could be one of our topics for next week.
Yeah, business size. Kyle, we're getting up to the top of our half hour, and I have enjoyed our time as always.
I have to.
Um, I think at this point, any parting thoughts on what to invest in before we sign off?
Well, I'm biased, but I think businesses are a great way to go. But that's why we're here is you don't have to work for somebody else. You can actually have an active investment rather than a passive one. And that's what a business is. That's what you and I have been doing, and millions of other people too. And when you consider that, most of the multimillionaires in the US got there by owning their own businesses, and a good chunk of the rest just chose their parents wisely. If you're into building wealth, it's a great way to go.
Absolutely, sir. All right, my man. It was great speaking with you. I'm going to sign off. Everyone, we thank you for listening and for sticking around. No questions today, but we hope to get some more engagement next week. We will be back at the same time, 12 o'clock Eastern, 11 Central next week to talk about all things business, entrepreneurship, and small business. And we hope to see you next week.
Sounds good. See you, everyone.